All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you all for coming. And welcome to the Holland America and Seabourn presentation. As you might know, Amanda's in Africa on a safari with about 20 plus explorers. So I pulled the short straw and I'm doing the introduction. So anyway, we've got Laurie Taylor with Holland America and Seabourn to give the presentation. And I just want to introduce my colleagues. So Tiffany is obviously Amanda's partner in crime. Debbie is my partner in crime. Alyssa, what are you doing over there? Come here.
I was delivering wine.
Oh, okay. And Alyssa, she keeps an eye on us all. So she's the office assistant. She we also have some outside agents.
And Brittany behind the camera.
Terry, yeah, I won't forget Brittany. She's last of all because she's most important. So Terry and Lauren, yeah, thank you for coming. And then Brittany, our photographer, film creator. Oh my gosh, she does so much. So, enjoy.
Thank you. So I want to thank everyone for coming out in what could have been a very rainy event, but thankfully we're all living right in between raindrops. So I am Laurie Taylor. I'm the Business Development Manager for Holland America Line. I'm actually celebrating my 22nd year with Holland America. Very hard to believe, but true. Thank you for that. And I have been a partner with Roseborough Travel for many years with a familiar face in the audience, Mary Wayne. It's a pleasure to see her. Actually, she taught me everything I know, so if I mess up, it's her fault. Just saying. But Holland America Line is really a privilege to work for. And there are a number of reasons for that. I don't even know who I'm speaking to, first of all. Let me see how many of you have actually sailed on Holland America Line. So I'm speaking to my people. So thank you so much for your patronage to Holland America Line. Because without you, obviously, we would not be all the things that we are. And I would not be all the things I am. So thank you for that. We enjoy a wonderful legacy, as most of you in the room know. For the few of you who don't, speak to those hands that went up. Hopefully there's a great living testimony behind that hand. We continue to thrive in this century, but again, we enjoy such a wonderful history. I want to just take us back to see where we come from so we can move forward and show you where we are.
We were born to voyage. In 1873, the Netherlands American Steamship Company set sail for the Americas, its passengers in search of a better life. These voyages changed the world. Now known as Holland America Line, we're still changing the world, taking our guests to over 100 countries, exploring new lands, experiencing new customs, and making new friends, celebrating our differences while discovering our shared humanity, as we become ambassadors of their cultures, and they become ambassadors of ours. Because travel is more than an itinerary. It has the power to transform us and our world, journey by journey. This is why we sail.
So wouldn't we all agree? What a privilege travel is. Aren't we lucky that we're doing it and thinking about our next journey? And so with that, we kind of see the legacy of us, the legacy of Holland America, how we even got our name. We came from the old world, Amsterdam, Holland, to the new world, America. And again, many of our ancestors did just that. That's where we get our name. And this is our family tree in mariner aspects. You can see 16 ships currently in that family tree. Some of you may know that Princeton Dom is soon leaving. In fact, her last voyage is coming up next week. And so we will actually be saying goodbye to a ship that's been in our family for a couple of decades, but has served well in shipdom for many, many years. And we will be welcoming to the Holland America family another new vessel, the Rhine. And of course, for those of you who have been with the family know that's not a new name. We're bringing back a name that we've used before. So we continue to use names in the past. So we will continue to have 15 Holland America ships sailing. So to go back just a second here, what makes these ships unique? They're a little different in terms of size. They have some sisterhoods within each of these different classes. So you see the Rhine I just showed you is a Pinnacle class ship. So what exactly does that mean? She's larger. She shared sisterhoods with the new Stotendam that just debuted this past December, and with the Koningsdam that came out in 2016. So for Holland America Line, these sisters are the largest. So they're 99,000 gross tons and have 2,662 guests. So that's big for Holland America Line. But we're still able to take care of our guests, still able to carry a 2-to-1 passenger to crew ratio and keep up the level of service that we're known for. And then signature class is right behind that. We have the Eurodam and New Amsterdam. Those ships are just a little smaller, around the 80,000 ton, 2,100 guests. The Vista class, a little smaller, bring it down another 10,000 gross tons, bring the guest count down. The Stotendam class, much smaller. These are our babies now, 55,000 gross tons, so way down, serving 1,258 and 1,350 respectively. Rotterdam class, our class, named for Al Rotterdam, the first ship that we had. These ships are in the 60,000 gross ton range, named Rotterdam, Amsterdam, Volendam, and Zaandam, all roughly the same size. Again, 13 to 1,400 guests. So they all have a commonality in terms of what you see and do in the spaces, but the ships themselves get larger as you change class of ships because we house more verandas and suites, and we also are able to tweak here and there and add a few more public places and spaces and partnerships to those ships. With the larger class, like the Rheindamm that's coming out, we actually have 35 rooms that hold 5 people, so that's unique. So if you have a family of 5, we'll be able to accommodate them in one stateroom. There are 2 facilities, so 2 people could essentially shower simultaneously, have a facility for them so you can get ready quick. And then there are also 12 single staterooms. So for the first time ever, when the Koningsdam was built back in 2016, we deliberately, fondly thought about the single traveler and purposely built single staterooms. Rooms with a view, they're ocean view, very lovely. And so now we have 3 Pinnacle class ships that have 32 rooms that accommodate 5 and 12 rooms that are for the single traveler. So those are unique things that we're able to do as our ships have evolved over the years. So those are some things that we've done a little bit differently. And as mentioned, the partnerships, although this is a very busy slide here, we've done some things with what you do on board the ships themselves. And in your brochure, as you look at that later, at the back of the brochure, you'll see all of the ships listed and what ships have what partnerships on them. Because what's unique for Holland America Line is the partnership piece is authentic. And by that I mean B.B. King's Blues Club is in fact B.B. King's Blues Club at Sea. Lincoln Center is in fact Lincoln Center at Sea, and so on. So you have to vet these land-based entertainment pieces and put them on board a ship and get people to commit to months of time on board a cruise ship. So a very different piece for them to commit, unlike what they do at home. So that's taken a while to do that process. So about half the fleet has all of the musicality that is in some of these partnerships. So you have to take a peek and see who has what, if some of these speak to you more than others. The digital workshop is on all of the Holland America ships. That's a nice space where you can go in and learn how to upload your pictures off your phone, how to learn about social media, how to learn about all things techie, things that you would maybe never have time for at home, or maybe not want to take the time for, but now have the time for on your cruise. So it's a nice opportunity to learn. We promote a lot of things inside of our cruises that are both entertaining and enriching. So these are some of the partnerships that you see. If you're a culinary person, some of you may know America's Test Kitchen. I'm not a cook, so it didn't speak to me right away, but if you're a cook, you're quite familiar with America's Test Kitchen. They author cookbooks, and they're also a consumer guide to cooking utensils and all things consumer driven relative to safety in cooking. So again, it's all about these partnerships as to what you do when you're on board the ship. And then these are my pillars. So this is really the foundational piece of why Holland America. So it is about the journey. You would choose a Holland America Line cruise because of the exploration, where we take you, the journey. You would choose me because I feed you well. When you get on board a Holland America cruise, you can actually enjoy the food. The quality of the food is very good, and we strive to have good food for you, both in your room service, something as innocuous as in your room, to something more as an alternative venue, such as the Pinnacle Grill, which is one of our alternative venues that you could choose. Many of these alternative venues might be something complimentary for you inside of a promotion, or it might be something complimentary to you when you're traveling in a group. But these are some ways that we have food and food service delivered to you. Musicality, we touched on a little bit. Our service, I told you a little bit about that, 2 to 1, so that you know you're in great hands. We have Indonesian and Filipino crew, Dutch officers, and an international flair in some of our alternative venues inside of the food arena. And then the ships themselves, as mentioned, we're still classic in our design and small, and we want to maintain that. So this is music walk. This is what we decided to do with our entertainment. So for those of you that sailed with me within the last 2 to 3 years, Music Walk is relatively new. So this is inclusive of Lincoln Center, B.B. King's Blues Club, and Billboard on board. So if you've experienced that, I hope you have felt entertained by all of these choices. When the new Staten Dom came out in December, that ship added a 4th musicality called Rolling Stone Rock Room. So if we can't please you in the area of music, we really are having a problem here. So you can see all of the various genres here, from classical to jazz to Billboard on board, which is really contemporary, the dueling style piano where you can sing, request, get more audience participation and so on, and now we have rock and roll. So again, Rolling Stone Rock Room is just on the new Staten Dom right now, but again, we plan to put these on all of the ships as a part of the Music Walk. So those are some of the ways that we take care of you while you're cruising. So what do we do destinationally speaking? Well, we were born in Europe, as I mentioned, or I didn't actually, I think my video did as introduction. So I have another little video that talks a little bit more to that.
This is our Europe. It's where we were born. And no one but Holland America Line brings you to the sights, immerses you in the cultures, and gives you those unique experiences that make you feel like a local. This is Holland America Line, and our Europe is your Europe.
All right, I know I'm going to make everyone hungry because of the timing of this presentation. So how do I get everyone to understand Europe? How many of you have been on Europe, to Europe on Holland America Line? So I have a couple hands in the room. So I thought, well, let me just blow it out and pick an itinerary that I would like to go on for Europe. So I've been fortunate in my 22 years to go to Europe on Holland America Line, but I've not done this particular itinerary, but this is one that I would want to go on. I have been to Amsterdam, Netherlands, highly recommend it. So I also would recommend going ahead of time because there's so much to do in Amsterdam as a destination. So anyone that's been to Amsterdam, I would think would agree with me. There are many things to do, from just parking it there and being a native in Amsterdam. The rich architecture there, the artwork and museums, the food is just a great destination in and of itself. So this particular itinerary is a 14-day British Isles explorer. It's on the Veendam. Everywhere I go and I do consumer events, people are asking me about British Isles. So I'm like, why are people so interested in the British Isles? They're watching Masterpiece Theater, that's why. I've got it figured out because I watch Masterpiece Theater. I are one of you. So I started looking at this itinerary and I'm like, I get it. I totally get it. So you're looking at these beautiful ports like St. Peter Port, okay, St. Mary. You know, when I looked at this, I thought, is that Half Moon Key? It cannot be. This is in the United Kingdom. I couldn't believe that this was an actual island in the United Kingdom. So my whole point and purpose of looking at this is not to take up lots of time because, as you can see, we could be here forever looking at this particular itinerary, but just these destinations are incredible. These itineraries are magnificent, and looking at them and going to them is worthwhile. So St. Peter Port is roughly the size of Bermuda. It's 25 miles. So very doable with 9 or 10 hours in port. And sometimes that's the downfall of an ocean cruise. We don't have enough time. Well, there's a lot of deliberateness in the planning of this. You do have plenty of time in all of these ports. So as you can see, this is, much like I say, 25 square miles, a Neolithic period, a trading post during Roman times, Victor Hugo. A lot of you probably know him from wonderful poetry. He did a self-imposed exile here back in the mid to late 1800s, so you can see where he lived. And like I said, I was really, if you're into birds, St. Mary, the Isle of Scilly in the United Kingdom, it just blew me away that it looked like a port in the Caribbean. And then Holyhead, Wales. So this is where I was on to the whole Masterpiece Theater with Edward I and all the castles, and just how wonderfully preserved they are. And if you're a castle person, how you could do nothing but castles and still not see hardly anything. So, Carnarvon Castle, and all of the different castles, and as I mentioned, how well preserved they are. And if you're not a castle person, and maybe you like the rail, the preservation of the railway and what's been done to make it fully operational. 1836 build, and still you can get on the railway system. Victorian resorts, Mount Snowdon, all of these things that you can see there. Now, of course, when I say Liverpool, you probably don't think of the Tudor history. You think of the Beatles. Right, so you have musicality that can pull you there and see all of that, or you can again get right into rich history inside of these kinds of itineraries. And then Ireland is a piece of this, so both Dublin and Belfast, Northern Ireland. So I can remember in my early childhood where Belfast, Northern Ireland was not a place you would go. But now it is very much a place you can go and uncover why I wasn't able to go at a time where they were really in quite a pickle. And in Dublin, you can see Queen Elizabeth I who actually had this Trinity College built. You can see it in the evening because the ship is still there at nighttime. So I actually put a photo of Trinity College at night because maybe you would like to go see it in the evening. And the Book of Kells, which is a hand-illuminated manuscript of the Gospels, is actually housed here. So a number of things, if you like things old, which I happen to, you can find that abroad. We don't have anything nearly this old, which is, again, one reason to go to Europe. So Viking history, Jameson Irish whiskey, you can find that certainly in Dublin. And of course, Guinness history. I had to put that in there for Michael Sexton, the man who hired me at Holland America Line. He'd be proud. So Northern Ireland, some of the thing that I was really impressed with that I had no clue was the Titanic was built here. Does anyone know that? I didn't know that. And of course, there are a number of monuments to signify that. And there is a World Heritage Site that resides here. It's called the Giant's Causeway, and it is made up of 40,000 basalt stones, and that's what is made. So that's what it looks like. So very cool reasons for wanting to see those places. And then we have Scotland and 3 different stops in Scotland, and you can see I got kind of engulfed in the henges because I couldn't believe, I only had heard of Stonehenge. I had no idea there were henges in any other parts of the world. They're a very narrow lens here. So when I discovered that there were other henges in other parts of the world, it really was remarkable. So just some of the fun things that you can find as you look through other places and spaces in which to travel. It can be just so much fun. And again, that's part of the journey anyways and why we want to travel. And if that's not enough, that's just Lori's journey and my wish list for Europe. These are all the places Holland America Line has for just Europe. It could be round trip Rome for 11 or 12 days. It could be 9 to 13 days. We call it Mediterranean Legends. It could be 10 to 12 days, again, trying to fit into how much time you have, where in the world you want to go. Do you want to focus on Greece? Do you want to focus on maybe getting into Dubrovnik, which is absolutely breathtakingly beautiful? Do you want to get into Spain? Maybe focus a little bit more on Italy? So all of those things are possibilities. Do you want to focus on Northern Europe? Do you want to go into more of, into the Viking routes and see some of the fjords? So there's a number of combinabilities that you can do as well. You can go, I know the Baltics is quite popular, certainly. And when we call on the Baltics, we spend multiple days as well, because you need multiple days, because sometimes the iconic things to do in these ports aren't right there off of where the ship is ported. You have to go many miles inland to reach it, we know that, and so when that is the case, then we spend the time to be able to do that. So we're not setting you up for failure, we're setting you up, again, to have a wonderful experience. And then of course we actually have a 20-day journey that includes Spitsbergen and the Arctic Circle Explorer. So quite a lot to do. And then we also have to get you to Europe. So we do a number of transatlantic voyages from Fort Lauderdale, and we're very lucky as Floridians living here. That's not a big trek for us. So we can get ourselves to Fort Lauderdale from here. It's very manageable. And then do a crossing either in the spring or in the fall, either coming or going. So as you can see, we're very serious about our Europe, so we have a number of ships that do that. And we have a unique voyage that I wanted to highlight that doesn't happen as a repositioning voyage, but it is called a transatlantic voyage. It's called the Voyage of the Vikings, and it happens in the heart of the summer. And it's called the Voyage of the Vikings. And it's round trip Boston, of all places. And it is 35 days, but look at that itinerary. And I took a snippet right off the website. Look at that price point for 35 days. So you can see there's one-night extended stays where we need them, again, to my point of being able to see and do in places where you need the extended time. So it gives you a Canada and New England experience and a very lovely Europe set of itineraries. If you can't do the full 35 days, you can split it up into 2 segments. You can either go or come back. But then you would have to include one leg of international air. So why not do the whole thing on your list? So again, a lot of people do it. It's quite popular. When you start to factor the airfare into it, it becomes very affordable. Another thing to consider, South America. And a lot of people are thinking South America. We have a number of 14-day, 2-week South America voyages. I chose to highlight November the 27th of 2020. And the reason I did, you can't see here, it's a snippet from Wiki. But on December 14th, there's a solar eclipse. And this particular solar eclipse is actually going to be occurring over Chile and Argentina. So if you happen to be on the ship on the November 27th voyage of 2020, guess what? You'll be able to experience the December 14th, 2020 solar eclipse. So just some fun trivia for you there. This is what that itinerary would look like, and Lori's not going to go through the whole itinerary. But it, as you can see, is a wonderful itinerary. I'll read it to you. Santiago, Chile, a day at sea. Portimont, Chile, where you go through the glacial lakes and experience the volcanic landscape. Puerto Chacabuco, Chile, has about 1,000 people. So imagine when you arrive, we're all celebrities. We're actually exceeding the population by a few when we go into Puerto Chacabuco. Then we cruise the Chilean fjords, and that's quite an experience. The Canal Sarmiento, which is one of the main channels that runs north and south. The Straits of Magellan, which that was the way that we traveled before the Panama Canal in terms of import and export. Punta Arenas, Chile, which is Chile's southernmost tip. The Cockburn Channel, which connects the Beagle and the Strait. The Beagle Channel, which runs through the Tierra del Fuego archipelago. Daylight cruising of Glacier Alley, Ushuaia, Argentina. Scenic cruising Cape Horn, Atlantic and the Pacific meet, so that's a pretty interesting occurrence. Stanley Falkland Islands of the Isle of the Malvinas, which is the southernmost capital. Days 11 and 12 are at sea, then we're into Montevideo, Uruguay, and then Buenos Aires. And I have a little video to make us feel like we just did South America.
It's the southernmost town in the world, gateway to the Beagle Channel, Cape Horn, and the wonders of Antarctica. It's the gem of Argentina, and it's called Ushuaia. To reach here, you'll sail the waters Magellan sailed, and you'll explore the stunning land and seascapes here at the end of the earth, and the very roots of the Patagonian Andes. Here, our shore excursions will take you to wildlife and wonder, from trains to trails, or to our exclusive signature collection private auto tours. Come venture to where seafarers made indelible history. Holland America Line takes you to the tip of the world, the doorstep of Antarctica, and to the jewel of a continent, Ushuaia.
Alrighty, are we exhausted? We're going around the world here. Now we're in Asia. So when we chose Asia, we chose quality and the variety of the itineraries. Trying to do overnights again because of wanting to reach some of the places, certainly, that we're trying to see in these destinational ports. We bring destinations to life, so we do a lot of onboard enrichment. So the ship tries to complement the destination. We have a lot of focused itineraries in specifically Japan, and we do 5 countries in 2 weeks' time. So a lot of our itineraries into Asia are 14 days. So these are some examples of what we do inside of Asia. They're all done on the Westerdam. So there are 2 pages of itineraries inside the atlas, but you do need to consult with the gals at Roseborough because a lot of the itinerary content changes quite a lot. So I know that what I'm currently showing you is a live Asia content specifically, gets redeveloped over time, as you might expect. So we do have reachabilities into Busan, and we get into, as you can see, Nagasaki, lots of World War II history, going into China, Japan, Hong Kong, Taiwan. So 14, 16, and as many as 28 days, but primarily across the board, 14 days is the focus as we move from 2019 into 2020 itineraries. Alaska, so we do connect Asia to Alaska, and we connect Alaska with Russia. So some interesting dynamics that go there as you connect the transatlantic to Europe as we get our deployment working for positioning the ships around the world. So I don't know how many of my people in the audience have been to Alaska. How many of my mariners have been to Alaska? Many of you have. So I have a nice little video. How many of you have been in the last 2 years? Okay, so it's been a little while. Let's see what you remember.
When it comes to Alaska, only Holland America Line has the expertise to take you farther, get you closer, and give you those once-in-a-lifetime moments. We are Alaska. We are Holland America Line.
So since many of you are Alaska travelers, you know we've been around Alaska waters for over 70 years. So that's a big statement that we make. Something you may not know, outside of doing 7-day cruise only, 14-day cruise only, we actually have the Mazdan that does a 3-week, 21-day round trip San Francisco cruise only. So that's new this year. That focuses on getting into Astoria and cruising the Oregon coast and certainly the Washington coast, and then spend some time up into different inlets when she gets into Alaska. So again, the idea is to call on some areas that you've never seen before. So people that are cruisers, that are looking for different places, you have to commit to a longer plan to do that, but we are doing that on the Mazdan. So my grayscale basically tells you the southeastern corridor that's colored there is the cruise route. The rest is getting you off the ship and into the Great Land. And we've refaced our property in Alaska in Denali. And that is Denali Square that we hope that you would think about doing once you cruise, that you'd get off the ship and experience that lovely 60-acre property at the foot of Mount McKinley, now Denali, and also consider perhaps going to Canada's Yukon Territory, as we're the only line that actually goes to Canada's Yukon Territory. So those are some suggestions for Alaska. Now the Caribbean. Holland America Line has a number of ships on the shoulder season in which we spend our time in the Caribbean. I had to retweak that because, of course, we all know we don't go to Cuba now. We've got a halt to traveling to Cuba, and Cuba was housed under Caribbean, so my little graphic is now a little tighter. But we do eastern, western, southern, and the Panama Canal, so we are not desperate for deployment in what we call the Caribbean. So we do from the shoulder seasons beginning in the fall around October through April, do a very robust season of Caribbean. So hopefully out of Fort Lauderdale too, the reachability of that experience round trip Fort Lauderdale is available to you, and also our new ships, the Koningsdam and the new Statendam, if you're looking for new. Panama Canal, as mentioned, we have 10 and 11-day experiences that you can do round trip Fort Lauderdale, where you can go through the first set of blocks, turn around in Gatun Lake and come back through, or Gatun. So you can have a full experience, or you can do a full transit of the canal, going through all of the locks and go through the Atlantic and the Pacific and reposition the ship for the season in Alaska, which is primarily what the ships are doing, repositioning from Florida to the other coast so that the ships can do the Alaska season. So these are some examples of what the Panama Canal itineraries look like when you're doing some of the full repositioning voyages. So to keep an eye out on those for the season, if any of you are interested in those. Typically repositioning cruises come at a tremendous value because you do spend a number of days at sea, and that's when our partnerships kick in, and you do a lot more onboard activities and enrichment because you're at sea getting to these places. And guess what?
Here, the sun rises over the Pacific and sets on the Atlantic. The land once divided two continents and separated two oceans. Now, as it has for nearly a century, it stands as a magnificent gateway. It is the Panama Canal. The project, as heroic as the pyramids of the Great Wall, 50,000 laborers in 1 year alone, and the only thing changed since the first transit in 1914 is the nature of the mules pulling on the lines. Every Holland America Line ship is sized right for this passage. Each ship will travel 50 miles and be lifted high above sea level by the powers of nature and ingenuity. The trip will take 8 hours and require the redirection of 53 million gallons of water. From Gatun on the Atlantic to Miraflores on the Pacific, or to the Amazon and the Caribbean beyond. A trip through this man-made marvel is a natural wonder, and the greatest choices are found right here in the Panama Canal voyages of Holland America Line.
So see, you'll be able to say you went to South America, you went through the Panama Canal, and I took you on a trip through Europe, all in a matter of time. And now there's a number of promotions that are going on with Holland America Line. There's what we call our early booking bonus program. I don't know if you all catch on to the lingo for promotional campaigns. It's most difficult for me to catch on to my own company lingo, much less. But we did have a promotion called Explore 4. It happened in the fall. So rumor has it we are not going to have this Explore 4. We have this early booking bonus right now. So this is in effect for, it's been in effect now for a little over a month and a half, and we've extended it through June 30th. So it has this signature beverage package that seems to have popularity. It is, it has a nice value to it. It's a $50 per person per day value on beverage for guests 1 and 2, I might say. There's dinner in the Pinnacle Grill, which is the alternative venue. It's a Pacific Northwest dining a la carte venue that we have on the ship, so that's complimentary. And free or reduced fares for 3rd and 4th guests. that are traveling with you, and a reduction in your deposit. And that is part of the early booking bonus. Now, if you book a suite, then the pot gets richer because you're investing more for your cruise. So if you book a suite, you would receive an additional $200 in onboard spending money in addition to all of those goodies. So this is the early booking bonus promotion, and that is in effect now. And we also have another program called Ocean of Extras. Now the good news is you don't have to remember any of those. That is why you have Roseborough Travel. But this particular promotion is, as it says, enjoy up to $600 of onboard spending. Plus suite guests will receive a beverage card, which is different than a signature beverage package. Signature dining package, which is our Pinnacle Grill and our Italian restaurant, Canaletto's. And then we have some combinabilities if you're in a group, so that this is really a slide that's more geared to our travel professionals, so my apologies for that. But if you're traveling with a group, then the good news is that this is just more for you, more goodies. And it's applicable right now, pardon the Cuba, we need to upgrade our slide there, but Asia, the Caribbean, Australia, South America, and many others. So tonight I'm sure I'll go to sleep, and in the morning there'll be a promotion that will be born. So that's just how these things work. But the good news is that's why you have a travel professional at your back, because these things are always going on. So we will always do our best to make good on the best offers for you. So that's my Holland America goodie. You all are still attended. Do you still have enough life for Seabourn? It's not near as long. Yeah. Okay.
Some say that
Let me
oceans
get a breath. If
separate
you need to use the
us. But at
restroom or
Holland
anything
America
at all.
Line, we believe they connect us. Traveling the world opens our minds and hearts to new cultures. We see ourselves in one another and celebrate the gift of our shared humanity. One smile, one landmark, one meal, one marvel, and one unforgettable moment at a time. This is why we sail.
All right, well, let's get right to Seabourn, because it is, without a doubt, a joy to represent Seabourn. A very different brand from Holland America, yet very similar in some ways. It's a nice step up. There are a lot of Holland America, how should I say this? There are some similarities as you walk into the Seabourn world. It's just like Holland America on steroids, yet it's called Seabourn. It is an ultra luxury brand, but I think you'll see through my presentation what I mean when I say a Holland America on steroids. So I do have some video in here because I think video helps you learn. So just enjoy this first one.
Who do you follow when you're already the best? Not just one or two, but levels, leagues beyond every one of the rest. Who can you learn something from when it comes to luxury, when you've made something as luxurious as it ever could be? Really? Who do you follow when you're already the best? Today, every travel brand loves to say they're the best one and claims to offer their guests complete perfection. But today, what the industry defines as lux seems to be in a somewhat state of flux. So the big question, how do you turn people's heads with your own brand of perfection when everyone's looking in every direction? Well, maybe you just continue to be, and be the best, with the Condé Nast awarded crest, the hallmark of luxury at sea. You venture to new horizons like Greenland, the South Pacific, Arctic and Cuba on the sort of trips you need to see to believe. And on a ship that can squeeze up a tiny glacial fjord, They launch kayaks so guests can get up close and personal with landscape they'll adore. And as for places to dine, Chef Thomas Keller is the mastermind behind dishes to make your heart soar. You host year-round cruises that set sail in style. And on every ship, staff who personify the best in service, which always comes with a smile. Staff who don't just know your name, but your tastes too. Because stargazing at places in the world that deemed its most extraordinary on a ship full of like-minded people to meet isn't just our priority, but our reason to be. So I digress. Who do you follow when you're already the best? Let's put this matter to rest. You follow no one, but follow your own course. You build 2 new ships with a queue that's out the door to be on the inaugural trip. You innovate, differentiate, and head for the place where access, intimacy, and luxury interlace, because that is Seabourn's legacy. And we'll keep going that way, because we don't want to only be the world's finest ultra-luxury cruise ship at sea. No, let's draw this line clearly in the sand. From now on, we will be the single greatest travel experience in all of the land.
I think that's just a hoot. I love it, so I show it. Actually, that particular video is more geared to the industry that I'm in. But what I like about it is that Seabourn is at the top, so it kind of level sets everything. And you don't know that unless you've been on Seabourn, which I've had the privilege of having sailed. So I don't know, do I have anyone else in the room that's sailed on Seabourn but me? Ah! Okay. Well, here are some of the attributes of Seabourn. So intimate ships, so I'll show you them in a minute. Intuitive personalized service, so literally when you get on the ship, they know you already, which that is one of the things they try to do. It's almost a competition for them to get to know you prior to you getting on board the ship. Curated voyages, so they do travel like Holland America Line to all 7 continents. So itinerary is very important. What's very cool though is the size of the ship, with the ships being smaller, as that they're able to get into destinational content that even my beloved Holland America can't reach because of the size that they are. All of the accommodations are oceanfront suites, so accommodation speaking, all of the rooms have a view. They're beautiful. Complimentary premium spirits and fine wines are available on board at all times. Welcome champagne and complimentary and sweet bar that's stocked with your preferences, so whatever you like, we need to know what that is, so when you arrive and go to your suite, it's there waiting for you. Tipping is neither required nor expected, and I used to love rolling that off my tongue at one point for Holland America Line. So I love rolling it off my tongue for Seabourn. So that makes it bittersweet in some aspects, but it's like welcome back, at least I get to say that, I love saying. The finest resort at sea that is masterfully designed, masterfully designed. As you've heard, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Chef Thomas Keller, but he is a chef's chef. We'll see him in a minute. All dining venues are complimentary. We have what's called Seabourn Conversations. Ventures by Seabourn, I'll share a little bit on that as well. There are some partnerships with UNESCO. I'll explain what that is through the lens of Seabourn. Spa and Wellness with Dr. Andrew Weil. I don't know if that's a familiar name to anyone. Tim Rice, it's Sir Tim Rice. And what we do for stewardship and sustainability. All right, so the partnership piece of Seabourn, so Chef Thomas Keller. What's interesting about, has anyone dined in Chef Thomas Keller's restaurant on land? Anybody? Parse, French Laundry?
French Laundry.
Yes, in Napa Valley?
Napa Valley.
Yeah. So, a little pricey. So, to dine in Napa Valley is right now about a 3-month waiting list. It's $325 a person. Do a Google. To dine on board the grill on Seabourn is absolutely nothing. So those are some neat things to just comparisons for why Chef Thomas Keller. So just some fun stuff, you know. Dr. Andrew Weil, I can remember when Larry King was on every night. Dr. Weil was on a lot. He's a health and wellness guru guy. I don't know if he founded, but I know he had something to do with Origins, the brand. But he actually has done a lot in our area of the spas on board Seabourn. Much like Thomas Keller with the culinary, so goes he with our spas. Sir Tim Rice, if you're familiar, any theater people in the room, he is Sir Tim Rice. The Queen gave him his titleage. He collaborated with Andrew Lloyd Webber on many things, from Evita to Phantom of the Opera to Cats to, if you can think it, he probably wrote the score. So very impressive with his background. So he actually has written the music and all of the entertainment piece. Now, we don't do these huge reviews because the type of environment for Seabourn is a little bit different than, it's not a very large venue like a Holland America. Mixology, we have Brian Van Flandern, so making the cocktail on board the ship is a science. The in-cabin amenities are Molten Brown on board Holland America, they're LMS, so very nice. And then we do have a partnership on the funding or taking monies from some of the excursions that we support and we give back for restoration and sustainabilities in the world. So that's the UNESCO World Heritage piece. So taking a quick look at where the ship goes, and the ships are doing these itineraries somewhat with a norm. Alaska was just brought back into the mix last year. So Seabourn goes to Alaska in the season on the Sojourn. Funny experience. I was on Holland America last September on the Eurodown. Fantastic experience on, 70 plus years on Holland America. Go a lot on Holland America, and it's a fantastic experience. We park right next to the Sojourn. And so I was with a group of people, and they're like, well, look, all those people are in blue jackets. And I said, yeah, complimentary Seabourn all-weather jacket. We're on Seabourn. But, not that the experiences are different, but they're different. So they're just a little bit, the Seabourn Alaska goes to some different places. Richard Bay, Prince Rupert Sound, Klemtu, Alert Bay. Just places, again, that if Holland America could go with the Eurodown would. But we can't take the Eurodown into those areas. So those are the reasons why Seabourn Alaska. And there are some pieces, I don't have every destination, but there are some fun pieces up here at your table that talk about that. And if you want a piece and it's not at your table, we can get them to Roseborough. So they just, again, will accentuate some of the things that are a little bit different that come with the experience. We do some conversational series with different expedition teams and folk that come on for enrichment. We do a Ventures by Seabourn program that offers more intimate, up close and personal experiences. I have a really small video, only seconds long. Ventures by Seabourn's a big deal. It's actually birthed into a whole new cycle of programs and shipbuilding for Seabourn. The Caribbean, we go to the Caribbean, but we only do a few calls, and they're Southern Caribbean, and they're December through March, but again, not very long. We actually have aft of ship a beautiful water sports marina piece with all kinds of water toys, and we'll spend a day where the captain will launch the marina and all the water toys will come out and they're complimentary, and we'll do a caviar on the beach type of day. So all kinds of fun and games you can have with your various opportunities. It's called Caviar in the Search, Beach Party and Barbecue, and it'll be asterisked in the brochure so you can see where we do those. So 7 and 14 days, Barbados, St. Martin, or reverse. So again, Southern Caribbean itineraries. Australia, New Zealand, and the South Pacific, again, some exciting destinations. 14 to 40 days, full circumnavigation of Australia, if you have the time and wherewithal to be able to do these itineraries. They're spectacular. Seabourn also Asia, and has focuses on Cambodia and China, and many places that Myanmar, Shanghai, Korea, and Japan. A number of spots in the world that I can't pronounce that are in the book that I have yet to see. A lot of the world that I have yet to explore. That perhaps you've not seen and have thought about. Chances are Seabourn touches and reaches that, and does so from November through May as the seasonality. Antarctica and Patagonia, a big product for the quest with Seabourn. So we do a caviar on the ice here, much like in warm water, a caviar on the surf. So some fun we try to have even in the cold water southern hemisphere. So from 21 to 24 days. So you have to have, again, much like Holland America, some time to dedicate to these spectacular parts of the world. And I have a little, like I said, piece of video that's one of my favorites. If you saw the full length of this, I'd have to hand everybody some tissue. So, if you like animals. I've been watching the animals way too much. South America and the Panama Canal, Chile, Peru, Ecuador, Uruguay, Rio de Janeiro, Buenos Aires, Santiago, Lima, Montevideo, and Manaus. So again, what makes Seabourn special, we have Seabourn conversations as well. So people again on board the ship that bring their life's work in some of these destinations talk about it. Seabourn conversations can be a Dan Rather on both as well. It can be somebody famous from our century that's sailing with you. So it can be very interesting. We had one of the astronauts over the holidays. He's a twin. He was just up. He was for months and months and months in space, and I can't think of his name right now. But and his wife was the
Gabby Gifford.
Thank you. Yeah, so anyways, he sailed over the holidays in Seabourn, so sure, it was probably very interesting. And I guess a lot of people that have made a mark in our century enjoy Seabourn because they can be themselves and have no problem sharing themselves in a smaller network of human population, and they're not intimidated by or worried or concerns. Canada, New England, in both brands, but certainly, and in Europe, of course, a huge appeal for Seabourn. So a quick look at what a Seabourn ship looks like. So we have the triplets, the Sojourn, Odyssey, and Quest, that are roughly 33,000 gross tons. And then we have the Encore Innovation that are 40,000 gross tons. So you go from 450 guests to 600 guests. So that's what we're looking at here. So this Ovation came out last year, and they all look alike, whether they're the smaller Three Sisters or the Encore Innovation. They all look the same. It's just the last two are a little larger. Not much, but just a tad. So again, you can see the Seabourn difference through my slides. Your wait staff, your stewards are all females, so that's a little different. And then the restaurant is called the restaurant. Adam Tahani was the designer of the ship, so that's little Tahani lighting. And also Adam Tahani designed the Holland America Koningsdam and Design. So beautiful ships. And then because we did such a good job with adventures and exploration, we have some what we call expedition class ships, a little smaller, actually coming out in 2021. And we just made the announcement. This is a rough artist rendition of our ship that's coming out, the Seabourn Venture, that will house 200 guests. And again, for those that want opulent interior and exploration galore. So stay tuned for that. So this is all our wonderful claim to fame, our accolades page. And with that, I am finished. It's very rare that I do a Holland American and a Seabourn presentation. So